Thank you, Marco. This was more of an incident because actually this is not my portfolio company, but Felix's. So I'm just the replacement here. But nevertheless, I would like to welcome Julius, one of the 3 founders from sennder. We actually declined the first pitch that they sent us. They wanted to send parcels through Flixbus. So we said, I don't think that this really makes sense. We are very glad that they pivoted into what they are now. So for VC, always market economics are really important. So I think not everybody knows about the huge potential on the road freight market. So I would say let's kick it off with a small introduction on the market that you're tackling.
Yeah, absolutely. So in a nutshell, sennder is a digital road freight forwarder that focuses on transporting full truckloads across all of Europe, looking to make it quicker, more transparent, and more sustainable by, on the one side, working with large enterprise shippers such as Coca-Cola, etc., and on the other side, working with small family-owned and more traditional businesses. The market as a whole is over 400 billion euros in size. The biggest segment of that is the one which we're tackling. It makes up approximately 1/3. It's the full truckload segment. What is giving us that opportunity to grow is the fragmentation of the entire market. Now, we've got large players such as DB Schenker, DHL, etc., that have an accumulated market share of less than 5%. What we're essentially doing is rather focusing on the bottom end of the market, tackling small family-owned businesses with 5 to 20 trucks in their fleet, and we're bundling those and offering those capacities on the other side to the large-scale shippers. And that has given us the opportunity to grow so significantly over the last couple of years.
I think before 22, as we said before, growth was one of the dominant drivers for VC interest. So you've been growing extremely. What about economics? Has always been important to the VC market, but in 2020 even more important. So how do the general economics look like? Are they really attractive? Everybody is talking about thin margins and so on. So what can you tell about economics of your industry?
Yeah. So first of all, road freight is a low margin business, period. And it's super difficult to grow in the industry. Nonetheless, sennder has positioned itself at the forefront of the market as the #1 digital freight forwarder today, doing north of €500 million in annual revenues. And if we look at our budget that we planned in 2021, without knowing that there was going to be an Ukrainian war, that fuel prices were going to double, the aftermath of COVID and so on, we've outperformed on all sort of key metrics, whether that's revenue, whether that's GM1, whether that's EBITDA. So we're very happy with sort of the development that we have seen, are looking forward to 2023.
I think it's extraordinary that you outperformed a 21 or late 21 budget in 22. As we understood, the focus really was on gross margin, that you also outperformed. I think this is normally one of the hardest things to crack because of the growth mindset of the founders. So I think this is really extraordinary, what you achieved. So maybe since we skipped it in the Flixbus session, sustainability, we are going to sustainability. I recently read, probably all of you also did, on Tesla releasing the Semi, it is called. If you look at the carbon footprint of the bus and truck market, it's 5% of global or EU emissions. If you compare this to passenger cars, this is 15%, so it's like 1/3 of passenger cars, but still substantial. So it's no surprise that Elon is going into that market. What are you doing, or can you actually do to diminish the carbon footprint from sender's perspective?
So sustainability is very, very dear to me, and we hired a guy named Graham 2.5 years ago to sort of tackle exactly that topic within our organization. Now, today, over 95% of the entire road freight industry is being operated by fossil fuels, by diesel. Now, we're step by step entering sort of a second niche, which is hydrated vegetable oil, HVO in short, that actually allows you to reduce the carbon emissions by over 90% if you compare it to diesel. But the long-term game is definitely going to be electric vehicles. Now, we're, as sennder, highly dependent on the OEMs to manufacture electric vehicles, which to a certain extent are in quite a significant backlog given the chip shortage, the chip crisis to actually produce vehicles in general. So what we've seen is that the average vehicle age, which is normally around 6 years that we run them in Western Europe, around 750,000 kilometers, before then going further east and then potentially in a second or a third market being in Asia or in Africa, is simply not simply not there. So we are waiting for the OEMs to produce electric vehicles. At the same time, we need the market infrastructure to actually recharge these vehicles, and we need that in Western Europe as well as in Eastern Europe and in all of the other markets. Otherwise, you are just not going to be able to fully utilize the vehicle, drive the kilometers that are required for sort of the daily deliveries. And at the same time, an electric vehicle costs around 3 to 4 times as much as a fossil diesel truck. And if you don't have a secondary market to potentially sell the vehicle at one point, it doesn't make much sense from an economical perspective. So we are certainly going to see a transition. We have the potential to basically switch everything to renewable power within 6 years, given the lifetime of a truck. But it is very difficult given sort of the relying factors that we're highly dependent on in the industry. And that's why we, as sennder, have sort of taken a first decision to focus on HVO now, where we transport with an advanced fuel for our large-scale shipper. Coca-Cola has actually taken the decision to transport everything on HVO going forward in 2023, which is huge, not only for us, but also for Coca-Cola. So yeah, that's sort of the general industry trend that we're seeing at the moment.
Yeah, I think this is really an important information, which is actually very similar to Flixbus, which operate usually buses for 4 years. Trucking industry is 6 years, so I think it's very easy to imagine that once the OEMs really picked up the speed, produced those trucks and buses at scale at reasonable prices, this can actually be converted very quickly. And I think this is a very hopeful vision for the future, that we will eventually get to carbon neutral in the future.
Absolutely, it's a huge opportunity, and we're all in it together to a certain extent, and I think we can tackle it.
Perfect. 39 seconds before time. I think we are the first
Get it next year. Stop talking. Thank you, David. Amazing panel.
Thank you, everybody.
All about efficiency, right?